Rain slid down the apartment windows like thin silver lines, turning the city of Portland into a blur of lights in motion. Inside, Emily Carter stood barefoot on the wooden floor, holding her phone, breathing slower than her heart wanted her. 2. The room was quiet, but her mind was loud, too loud. She had not planned this night. It had arrived after weeks of restless evenings, unfinished thoughts, and long walks where she questioned everything she thought she knew about herself. Emily was 32, independent, and calm on the outside. People often said she had it. Together, they did not see the nights when she sat alone and wondered when she had started living so carefully. Her divorce had ended more than a year ago, clean and polite, without shouting or blame. Friends told her she handled it well. She believed them, at least during the day. But at night, something inside her felt unfinished, like a sentence that never reached its last word. Emily looked at the message draft on her screen. It was short, too simple for how much it meant. Dinner at my place tomorrow evening. Just conversation. No pressure. She hesitated, then sent it not once, but twice. The first message went to Daniel Moore. Daniel had been part of her life for almost 10 years. He was steady, thoughtful, the kind of person who showed up without being asked. When her marriage ended, he never pushed advice. He listened. He made space. Their bond had always been safe, familiar, almost timeless. The second message went to Lucas Bennett. Lucas was newer. Kid entered her life only a few months earlier through a mutual friend. From the start, he felt different. Not loud or dramatic, but present. When he spoke, he meant it. When he listened, he truly listened. There was something about him that made Emily feel seen in a way that surprised her. As soon as the messages were sent, Emily placed her phone face down on the table. The choice was made. The calm that followed did not last long. She moved around the apartment, cleaning things that were already clean. She adjusted the cushions, wiped the counter, opened and closed the fridge without taking anything out. Thoughts raced ahead of her actions. She was not planning anything inappropriate. She was not trying to create conflict. She simply wanted honesty, her own honesty. She wanted to sit in the same room with two people who represented different parts of her emotional life and see what surfaced. The next day arrived faster than she expected. Emily spent the afternoon preparing a simple dinner, nothing fancy, something warm and familiar. Cooking usually relaxed her, but today her hands moved quicker than usual. She checked the time more than once, then stopped herself and laughed quietly. "This is just dinner," she said out loud, as if the room needed reminding. The doorbell rang exactly at 6. Daniel arrived first, wearing a light jacket and carrying a small paper bag with fresh bread. He smiled the same easy smile she had known for years. "Hope I'm not early," he said. "Perfect timing," Emily replied, stepping aside to let him in. His presence settled her nerves a little. He moved through the apartment naturally, as if it were an extension of a place he already belonged. They spoke easily while setting the table, sharing small updates about work and mutual friends. The comfort between them was quiet but strong. The second doorbell came 15 minutes later. Lucas stood in the hallway, Rain still clinging to his coat. He looked relaxed but alert, like someone stepping into an unfamiliar space with respect. He greeted Emily warmly, thanked her for the invitation, and took a moment to take in the room without staring. Introductions were simple. Daniel was friendly but observant. Lucas was polite but confident. Emily noticed everything, even though she pretended not to. They sat down to eat. The conversation moved quickly, jumping from stories about the city to travel dreams, from favorite movies to moments that had shaped them. There was laughter, but also depth. Emily found herself speaking more than she usually did, surprised by how natural it felt. She spoke about rebuilding her life, about learning to enjoy silence, about the fear of making the wrong choice again. She did not share details. She did not need to. Both men understood more than she expected. Daniel nodded often, his eyes thoughtful. Lucas leaned forward slightly, listening with full attention. As the plates emptied, Emily felt a strange mix of calm and awareness. This was what she had wanted. Not answers, not decisions, just truth in the open air. The rain outside slowed, but the energy inside the room shifted. 'Twas subtle, almost invisible, yet impossible to ignore. Every pause felt meaningful. Every glance carried weight. Emily realized something important then. She had spent so long protecting herself from uncertainty that she had forgotten how to sit with it. This evening was not about choosing between people. It was about choosing courage over comfort. It's about allowing herself to feel without rushing to control the outcome. When dinner ended, no one stood up right away. They talked longer, voices softer now, the city humming quietly beyond the windows. Emily looked at the two men across from her and felt a gentle tension, not uncomfortable, not dangerous, just real. She had invited them to test her limits. What she did not expect was how much she would learn before the night was even over. And as the clock moved forward and the room grew quieter, Emily understood that this evening was only the beginning of a much deeper journey. One that would ask more of her than she had planned to give. The plates were cleared and the smell of dinner still hung lightly in the air. Emily stacked the dishes in the sink, moving quickly, not because she was in a hurry, but because her thoughts refused to slow down. Behind her, Daniel and Lucas talked quietly, their voices calm, almost careful, as if both sensed the evening had shifted into something more serious. Emily poured 3 glasses of water and returned to the table. The conversation picked up again, smoother now, like a river, finding a clearer path. They spoke about work stress, small failures, and the strange pressure of starting over in their 30s. No one joked much anymore. The tone was honest, direct, and real. Daniel talked about how hard it was to stay hopeful when life did not move the way you planned. He spoke without bitterness, but Emily heard the weight in his words. Lucas followed, sharing how he once left a city he loved because staying felt like giving up on himself. His voice was steady, but his eyes carried memory. Emily listened, realizing she had brought together 2 men who understood struggle in different ways. She felt responsible, not in a heavy sense, but in a human one. These were not ideas or emotions. These were people. She spoke again, faster. Now, before doubt could stop her, she admitted that she had been afraid of wanting more, afraid of opening doors she might not be able to close. She said she invited them because she needed to understand herself, not because she expected anything from either of them. The room stayed quiet for a moment. Daniel looked at her with concern, not judgment. Lucas watched her closely, not searching for advantage, but for truth. Emily felt exposed, yet strangely calm. The words were out, and they felt right. Daniel stood and offered to help clean up. In the kitchen, he worked beside Emily in comfortable silence. The sound of running water filled the space. After a moment, he spoke softly, telling her she did not owe anyone clarity before she was ready. His voice was gentle, almost protective. She thanked him, touched by the care in his tone. At the same time, she felt the quiet ache of knowing that safety, while beautiful, was not always enough. When they returned to the living room, Lucas was standing near the window, looking out at the city lights. He turned when they entered, his expression thoughtful. The 3 of them sat again, this time farther apart, as if space itself had meaning now. Emily noticed how the room felt smaller, not because of closeness, but because emotions filled it. Lucas spoke next. He said he respected her honesty. He said uncertainty was not a weakness, but a sign that someone cared enough to think deeply. He did not ask questions. He did not push. He simply spoke and then waited. Emily felt something shift inside her chest. Not excitement, not fear. Understanding. The evening moved forward without dramatic moments. There were no raised voices, No confessions spoken too soon. Instead, there was awareness. Every word felt measured, every silence carried thought. As time passed, Daniel checked his phone and said he should head out. He stood, put on his jacket, and paused near the door. He looked at Emily with the same steady kindness she had known for years. He told her he was always there, no matter what. No conditions, no pressure. When the door closed behind him, the apartment felt quieter but not empty. Emily and Lucas remained seated, the space between them filled with unsaid things. Emily broke the silence, admitting she was still learning how to trust her instincts again. She said she was tired of choosing the safe option simply because it was familiar. Lucas nodded. He said growth often felt uncomfortable before it felt right. He reminded her that no choice had to be permanent and no feeling had to be solved in one night. They talked for another hour, voices low, the world outside moving on without them. Emily felt seen, not admired, not pursued, just understood. It was a rare feeling, and she held it carefully. Eventually, Lucas stood to leave. At the door, he thanked her again for inviting him. He told her the night mattered, regardless of what came next. There was no expectation in his words, only respect. When he left, Emily locked the door and leaned against it, breathing slowly. The apartment was silent again, but her mind was clear for the first time in a long while. She had crossed no lines, yet everything felt changed. She had not made a choice, yet she understood the weight of choosing. That night, Emily lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversations. She realized something important had happened. She had invited others into her space, but what truly entered was truth. And once truth shows up, it does not leave quietly.